Good evening. You will notice two things. One, I'm very handsome. Two, the program you're watching is unsuitable for certain people. So, if you're certain people, switch off.
Good evening, Bond fans. For this video, I thought I would try something different. See, I've been re-watching some Bond movies lately because, well, it's what I do for this channel. And I caught myself saying the same phrase repeatedly.
Wait, what?
So yeah, have you ever noticed that throughout the Bond series, many moments just don't make sense? And I'm not necessarily talking about the plot holes, maybe just a decision or a choice that a character makes that just baffles the mind. So, how about you join me as I review some of my favourite scenes that make me go,
Wait, what?
Now, pay attention, Bond fans. Okay, let's get this one out of the way. Tarantulas are not deadly to humans. While they do have venom, it is not poisonous to people. It's possible that in the 1960s this was not common knowledge, but it is now. See, back in the book it was originally a poisonous centipede, but it seems that the filmmakers just wanted to up the scare factor, even though it doesn't make sense. Well, it does make sense in the way that I can understand why someone might be afraid of some giant creepy crawly crawling up your arm one night. However, I don't understand what Dr. No expected to happen. Was this some sort of special spider? Genetically engineered or radioactive? As a scientist, Dr. No should have known that tarantulas were not harmful to humans. Wait, since Dr. No works with radiation, is that what happened? Did he dip that spider into his radioactive pool? If so, that would not only be extremely dangerous, but that could also potentially turn Bond into bloody Spider-Man. Anyway, enough of this subject. Okay, so for this one, Bond informed Tanya about the embassy bombing but gave her a fake date, the 14th, instead of the actual date, the 13th that he knew about. Tanya acknowledged this deception by mentioning the wrong date when Bond met her in the decoding room. Okay, so far so good. But here's the thing, when Bond and Tanya boarded the train, they found Grant waiting for them with a complete escape plan, even though only Bond and Karim knew about the date change. Yet this raises two questions. First, how did Grant know to be on the train? And two, how did he prepare an escape plan for the wrong day? In short,
how did you know about the parts you weren't there for?
Okay, Goldfinger, why did you build an elaborate trap in the middle of your own living room? Especially a modified gas chamber. Look, I don't care if you sealed off all the entrances and exits, using a lethal nerve gas in the middle of your own home is a pretty stupid idea. I mean, I don't recall seeing any ventilation installed, and mate, you're pretty much going to need to completely decontaminate that entire room every time you use the thing. I mean, nerve gas must be a nightmare to get out of rugs and curtains. And also, using gas in an open space like that is pretty hard to control anyway. I mean, that could easily backfire. Next time, mate, just do the classic trapdoor that leads into a gas chamber or something. Bond could not have placed his jetpack on the roof of Jacques Bouvar's mansion without being detected. The jetpack is very noisy, so if he flew up there it would have alerted everyone. Additionally, the jetpack is quite heavy, I'd imagine, so it would make it very unlikely that Bond would have had the time to climb up the wall, place it on the roof and enter the mansion before Jacques Bouvar's return from the church. Also, it's worth noting that Bouvar left the church before Bond did, making the scenario even more improbable. Unless, perhaps... wait. That bloody spider again.
An unknown Englishman was in your office the other day.
Correct, number one.
Do you know what gun this is?
Water PPK.
Only one person we know uses this sort of gun. James Bond.
But Bond is dead.
It was in all the newspapers.
Then why the hell didn't you recognize him?
How'd he get that?
Yet, Blofeld had no reason to keep the oil rig platform on the map in the penthouse, apart from giving Bond and White the idea that he was hiding there. There was absolutely no point in having Baja on the map in the first place, as nobody knew about it except for Blofeld and White. It only made sense when Bond entered the penthouse. Blofeld, that ball's up's on you, mate. Okay, so Bond manages to steal an old-fashioned double-decker bus.
Well, I was forced to find an alternative means of transportation. A double-decker bus?
Yeah, they aren't exactly known for their speed, and he doesn't have much of a head start when the police start chasing him. I mean, despite this, in later shots, Bond seems to have quite a distance ahead of the police. Although Bond is a skilled driver, I mean, there's no doubt about that, it's important to remember that it's still a freaking bus, which makes his escape even more impressive, but nonsensical. When Bond and Scaramanga are dueling, Bond has no tie or jacket on. After Bond drops his gun and gives his hiding place away, he somehow has the time to not only crawl back onto the stage, but also move the wax replica of himself while also putting on the dummy's jacket and necktie. Also, unless Bond actually managed to find his original gun in record time, why did the dummy have a real gun in the first place? Okay, if Anya stole the blueprints of the Lotus Esprit once before, why is she so surprised to see it transform into a submarine?
That's a very good question. That just raises further questions.
Hey, Jaws, how did you get back to the base in time to pull Bond out of the pool after going over the waterfall?
Muffin button?
Wait, what? Okay, Bond, you know the Russians and their operatives are after the ATAC, and the ATAC itself is expendable to Britain. I mean, it has a self-destruct mechanism for a reason, in case, it fell into the enemy hands when the ship sank. So why did you go through all the bother to retrieve it? I mean, Britain can build another one. I mean, that's obvious since it has a self-destruct. So when you went down to the boat to retrieve it, why didn't you just destroy it then and there?
Fook me, that was fast.
When Bond and Tibbet break into the underground lab and find the device which drugs the racehorses, there's a large light-emitting diode on top of the device. Why? I mean, what possible use can that have? The device is implanted in the horse's leg. Is it so you can find it? Wait, what? Isn't it supposed to be covert? Is this so that you can find it in the dark? Wait. Too many questions. This just raises too many questions. Necros couldn't have known about Bond and Saunders meeting at the cafe. The scene in Tangier happens the same day as Bond arrives in Vienna. That means Necros had to travel from Tangier to Vienna, track down Saunders, acquire materials to booby-trap the cafe doors, and set up the trap. There simply wasn't enough time for all of this to happen without Necros having prior knowledge of Saunders' movements. So Necros, I'm once again forced to ask,
how did you know about the parts you weren't there for?
I don't know what it is they've got you on, pal, but you're looking a bit too chirpy for someone who lost both his legs. And wife.
3 clicks, arms the 4-second fuse. Another 3 disarms it.
4 seconds, you say? Let's test that, shall we?
Give me the cards, Natalia! Give them to me!
I think your timing's a little off, Q. The Devonshire is supposed to be only 11 miles from the Chinese coast, right? Well, if that was the case, the coast would be visible on their radar, wouldn't it? I mean, that thing has a range of like 250 miles at least. Surely some member of Her Majesty's highly trained navy would have noticed that. Towards the end of the film, Bond kills Elektra while on the radio to Renard. Obviously, he can hear Bond's voice on the radio, so surely he must be able to hear a gunshot, which is much louder than a voice. Am I right? Well, apparently not, because when Bond tells Renard that Elektra is dead, he acts surprised. What do you mean he's lying? How did you miss the gunshot? You must have suspected something was amiss. Right, so from the start of the movie when Bond is captured to when he escapes, it's been about 1.5 years as far as I'm aware. But apparently in that time, Moon has managed to pull off a number of things that would normally take multiple full lifetimes to achieve. I mean, he manages to get knighted, which is normally required many years of service, becomes a billionaire charity donor, and undergoes a complex procedure that turns him into Gustav. Pretty impressive that he's managed to achieve all those things in that short length of time. So Bond botched his mission in Madagascar, and M throws down a newspaper which reads, MI6 kills unarmed prisoner. A similar story is seen on the chief's computer, which identifies him as a British agent. Question is, since Bond escaped from the embassy and didn't speak a word to anyone while he was there, no one could possibly have known that he was British or worked for MI6, even with security camera footage. So we find out that Dominic Green was found dead in the desert with 2 bullets in his skull and motor oil in his stomach. Presumably Green drank the oil and was then shot. But why would Green's murderers kill him if he had just did that to himself by ingesting oil? I mean, if that stuff didn't kill him instantly already, surely he would be suffering a very slow, painful death, especially in that scorching desert heat. I mean, if Quantum was trying to make a lesson out of Green, why not just leave him to wither in agony, rather than waste the ammunition? And how did they even find him in the desert in the first place? There's like no way they would have been able to find him in time while still alive.
Shit. He hacked us.
Hold on, what? Huh? What? How? Why? I have so many questions!
It seems apparent that Mr. White was aware of the nature and location of l'Américain. Therefore, it makes no sense why he would not directly inform Bond of this information, rather than indirectly through his daughter. I mean, Mr. White wanted to protect his daughter, right? Why involve her in the first place? By doing so, he inadvertently led the bad guys straight to her. It would make some sense if, like, Mr. White had only a few moments left to live or something, and he could only disclose limited information. In which case, his daughter could help Bond further. Okay, that would make sense. However, he could have simply told Bond everything he needed to know about the secret room, including its address and everything. After Safin's men had broken into the laboratory, I don't recall seeing any kind of response by any security forces supposedly there. Given the fact that this laboratory is operated by, or at the very least just working for MI6, you would have thought there was some kind of security force considering the kind of viruses it holds. This seems pretty unlikely. And there we have it, Bond fans. And don't forget to share and like this video and subscribe to my channel. And I'd like to thank you all once again for enjoying this video. Let me know in the comments what are your biggest, what moments in the Bond franchise? I only ask that you keep all comments as civilized as possible. And if not...
It's useless! He has absolutely no idea.
Pen down the line, like that, a column that
Silence! Nobody can speak unless they're holding this pencil.
May I have the pencil, please? I wish to speak.
No.
No idea what money looks like. How can you
She's messing up the whole system. Totally unfair. I refuse to work under this.